Stepping out in faith, breaking free from your comfort zone. Sometimes the most incredible growth happens when we step outside our comfort zones. Whether it's learning something new, accepting a new job, moving to a new place, meeting new faces, or reaching out to someone familiar. We often face situations where we are stretched. But one thing I've learned is this: staying inside your comfort zone might keep you safe, but it can also keep you from growing. I've read many stories in the Bible where God used ordinary people when they were willing to step out of what was comfortable and into the unknown. Their trust in God allowed them to walk into their purpose, no matter the fear or risk involved. Abraham is known as the father of faith in the Bible. He left behind everything he knew, his homeland and his family, and ventured into an unknown land, trusting in God's promise that he would become the father of many nations, Genesis 12. Imagine the courage it took for him to leave his comfort zone and trust that God had something more extraordinary in store. Think of Rebekah, who left her family to marry Isaac, a man she had never met. She stepped into her destiny as part of God's plan to build a great nation, even though it meant leaving everything she once knew behind, Genesis 24. Then there's Lot, who had to flee from Sodom and Gomorrah before God's judgment fell. Staying in his comfort zone would have led to his destruction, but God called him to leave and find safety in his protection, Genesis 19. Noah stepped out of his comfort zone by building an ark when the world mocked him. Yet, through his obedience and trust in God, he saved his family and countless species of animals from a flood that destroyed the earth, Genesis 6-9. Moses was afraid to speak, yet God called him to lead an entire nation out of Egypt. Despite his fear and doubts, Moses trusted God's plan and stood before Pharaoh, declaring, "Let my people go." Exodus 3-14. David, a shepherd boy, stepped out in faith when he faced the giant Goliath. He was inexperienced in battle, yet with trust in the Lord, he won a victory that changed the course of Israel's history. 1 Samuel 17. Jonah initially ran from God's calling, but eventually he stepped out of his comfort zone and went to Nineveh to preach repentance, and a great revival followed, Jonah 1-4. Finally, consider Jesus' disciples. These men left everything behind, fishing nets, businesses, family, to follow Christ. They had no guarantees, maps, or idea of what lay ahead. But they took that leap of faith, and their lives became testimonies of God's power to transform the world. Matthew 4 verses 18-22. Here's the thing. All of these people, and more, were regular people like you and me. I'm sure they were afraid, unsure, and had questions. But what set them apart is that they didn't let fear or doubt keep them from stepping out in faith. They trusted in a God who was more significant than their comfort zones. And the same God who led them is leading you. What is God calling you to do that feels uncomfortable? Maybe it's that job you've been hesitant to apply for, or it's reaching out to a loved one with whom you've lost touch. Perhaps it's starting that business, that ministry, or even speaking up when it's easier to stay silent. Whatever it is, I want to encourage you today. Step out in faith. Yes, it's scary. Yes, the unknown can be daunting. But God calls us not to be comfortable, but to trust in Him. When we do, we often find He has something far greater waiting for us on the other side. Breaking out of your comfort zone is more than just a personal challenge. It's an act of obedience. It's saying, "Father, I trust you more than I trust what I know." What God has prepared for you might be on the other side of your comfort zone. Will you trust Him enough to step out? As you break free from what's familiar, take heart in knowing you're in good company. The heroes of our faith, from Abraham to Moses to David, all walked the path of uncertainty, but they also walked hand in hand with the one who made all things possible. Take that leap. Trust Him in the process. You are in good hands. Yah bless.